In 1922, a 15-year-old boy began working at a small automobile repair shop in Tokyo, Japan. The owner, questioning whether the boy was suitable for this type of business, assigned him to clean the shop and babysit his son. At the time, nobody paid much attention to him, but they had no idea who this boy would become in the future. Decades later, this boy, Soichiro Honda, would be competing with some of the world's largest car brands while also owning the largest motorcycle manufacturer. This is the story of how a poor Japanese boy went from babysitting children to building the multi-billion-dollar brand, Honda Motors. The story begins in 1906 in Tenryu, Shizuoka, a small village at the foot of Mount Fuji. This was how Geihei Honda and his wife welcomed their first son, Soichiro Honda. Soichiro's father was a local village blacksmith who also repaired bicycles in his spare time, while his mother was a skilled weaver. Raised in difficult economic circumstances, Soichiro lost 5 of his siblings as a child due to health problems. When Soichiro was 8 years old, he heard a loud noise that caught his attention while walking in his neighborhood. He followed the sound to find a large piece of metal, a strange contraption rolling on 4 wheels. This machine was a Ford Model T, and Soichiro was captivated by what he had just witnessed. "It was the first car I ever saw! What a thrill!" Soichiro couldn't understand how the car could move on its own power, and when the car passed him by without even thinking, Soichiro started running after it down the road as fast as he could. This experience left a mark on his life that would forever change the way he would engage with machines. Soichiro learned to wet the blades of farm machines and repair bicycles. He was fascinated by all types of engines, but hated the idea of going to school. And instead of pursuing proper education, he spent most of his childhood helping his father with the bicycle repair business. His lack of interest in school affected his grades so much that he used an eraser he found to fake the family stamp on his report cards so that his father wouldn't have to sign the paper and see his grades. Eventually, he was caught, and his father punished him by making him kneel for a whole day without lunch. In 1922, Soichiro Honda came across a magazine ad for Art Shokai, a Tokyo-based automotive services company known as one of the most popular car services in the city. Seeing an opportunity for employment there, he sent a letter to the company inquiring about a job vacancy. Fortunately, Art Shokai responded positively, and at the age of 15, Soichiro decided to drop out of school, leave his home, and embark on his dreams in Tokyo. Upon arriving in the city, Soichiro was impressed by the fast-paced and different lifestyle from the village where he grew up. At Art Shokai, the owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, had already reserved a job for Soichiro, which involved taking care of the owner's son. Although he did not receive any money in the first few months, Soichiro continued to work at the company, motivated by the shame of returning home as a failure and facing his parents. Eventually, the owner noticed Soichiro's talent and called him to help with the increasing demand for automotive services. Starting with small tasks, Soichiro gradually became a reliable mechanic in the company. His talent and dedication caught the owner's attention, and he decided to adopt Soichiro and teach him not only mechanical repairs, but also the business side of the company. At that time, Sakakibara's company specialized in repairing automobiles and bicycles. Although cars were a luxury for the upper class and most available models were imported, Soichiro quickly familiarized himself with a wide range of vehicles, including Lincolns, Mercedes-Daimlers, and various motorcycles. He was completely dedicated to expanding his knowledge and understanding of automotive mechanics. It was through Art Shokai that Soichiro was also introduced to the world of motor racing. In 1923, Sakakibara began building racing cars with the help of his workers, including Soichiro. The first model built was the Art Daimler, made with a second-hand Daimler engine. The second model was the Curtiss, built with another second-hand engine taken from a Curtiss American biplane and placed on the chassis of an American car, the Mitchell. The Curtiss participated in the 5th race of the Japanese Automobile Championship in 1924 and came in first place with Sakakibara's brother as the driver and Soichiro as the accompanying engineer. This experience was special for the 17-year-old, and from then on, motorsports became his passion. In 1926, Soichiro Honda was about to be recruited into military service, but it was discovered that he was colorblind and therefore unfit to serve. Fortunately for Soichiro, this meant he could continue working at Art Shokai, the automotive parts workshop where he had started his career. 2 years later, in 1928, Yuzo Sakakibara, owner of Art Shokai, decided to expand his business and open a branch in Hamamatsu. Sakakibara saw no one better to lead the new branch than his young apprentice Soichiro, who at 21 years old had already impressed the boss with his mechanical skills. However, Soichiro's first few months as manager of the new shop were difficult. People didn't want to entrust their cars to an inexperienced young man, and as a result, the shop had to settle for the leftovers that other mechanical workshops discarded. But Soichiro didn't give up. Using all the knowledge and skill he had accumulated over the years, he worked hard to turn the shop into a thriving business. During the 1930s, the Hamamatsu branch grew rapidly, expanding from a one-man operation to a team of 30 people. Soichiro had to bring his wife in to help manage the business, as there was so much work to be done. While known for his mechanical skills, Soichiro was also a talented race car driver, and this skill helped him stand out among his colleagues. He even built the Hamamatsu race car inside his workshop, setting a new speed record by driving at 120 kilometers per hour, a record that lasted for 20 years in Japan. In 1936, while competing in a race in the suburbs of Tokyo, Soichiro suffered a severe accident that almost cost him his life. With his left arm fractured, shoulder dislocated, and face damaged, he spent several months in the hospital recovering from his injuries. Despite this, Soichiro returned to the tracks just 4 months later. But his family was not happy with his decision, and after several discussions, he never raced again. Tired and disillusioned with his repair work, Soichiro decided to focus on manufacturing car parts. He proposed turning the Art Shokai Hamamatsu branch into a separate company for this purpose, but the shareholders of the company did not agree. Determined to move forward, Soichiro decided to open his own company to manufacture piston rings and founded Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry, with the help of his close friend, Shichiro Kato, who took on the role of company president. Together, Soichiro and Kato worked tirelessly on their new venture and founded the Art Piston Ring Research Center. Soichiro spent his days at the repair shop in Hamamatsu and his nights developing pistons. After facing a series of challenges and failures, Soichiro decided to enroll as a part-time student at the Hamamatsu Industrial Institute to improve his knowledge of metallurgy. In 1939, Soichiro finally succeeded in creating a functional and successful piston, but despite his confidence in the project, he had not yet achieved the desired quality. However, this did not stop him from leaving his job at Art Shokai, handing over the branch to some of his apprentices, and dedicating himself full-time to his new company. Although Honda began producing pistons non-stop, his creations still had flaws. When Toyota contacted Soichiro to manufacture pistons, only 3 out of 50 met the company's standards. This was a major setback for him, but instead of giving up, Honda spent the next few years traveling throughout Japan to learn more about piston ring manufacturing. He visited steel companies and universities to improve his knowledge and experience. Thanks to his perseverance and dedication, Soichiro gained confidence in his knowledge and experience and went on to lead the Art Piston Ring Research Center. This time, the result was surprising. His new pistons not only passed the quality control but also began to attract orders from all over the country. The company ended up hiring around 2,000 people just to keep up with the demand. This journey exemplifies Soichiro Honda's determination and passion for improving the quality of his products and services. His achievements and innovations were essential for the evolution of Honda Motors and the automotive industry as a whole. Things were going well for Soichiro and his company, but in 1941, Japan entered the Pacific War, and Honda was placed under the direct command of the Ministry of Munitions the following year. Soichiro was demoted from the position of president to senior director, and Toyota took over 45% of the company's shares. The situation worsened when many employees were drafted into military service, and Soichiro did everything he could to keep the company afloat. However, the worst was yet to come. In 1944, signs of air attacks intensified in Japan, and Hamamatsu, where Honda was headquartered, was bombed. Soichiro's factory was destroyed, and a second misfortune occurred in January 1945 when an earthquake devastated the region and brought down the Iwanta plant. Soichiro was on the verge of losing everything, and after Japan's surrender in August 1945, he decided to sell what remained of his company to Toyota for 450,000 yen. The sale was publicly announced, and Soichiro took some time to think about what the future held. However, the situation in the country only got worse. A year later, Japan experienced an economic collapse, and the shortage of food, clothing, and shelter threatened the lives of its citizens. Resources were rationed, and Soichiro couldn't find enough fuel to drive his car to the market and buy food for his family. Honda was in ruins, but Soichiro didn't give up. He knew that the key to the country's recovery lay in the production of consumer goods. One day, Soichiro Honda came across a generator motor that had been used by the Imperial Japanese Army during the war to supply power to a wireless radio. Fascinated by the motor, he studied its operation and had an innovative idea. What if he attached the motor to a bicycle? Despite the fact that the practice of attaching an engine to a bicycle was already common in Europe, Soichiro realized that it could be a viable solution for Japan, which needed a cheap means of transportation. In 1946, he used his old warehouse to establish the Honda Technical Research Institute, with the aim of finding a way to manufacture motorcycles. There, he led a team of 12 men who worked together to turn his idea into reality. With some engines he found and other spare parts, the team managed to assemble a motorcycle that quickly became a success. Orders began to pour in from different parts of the country, and Soichiro was running out of used engines. That's when he decided to design and develop his own engine. In 1947, the Taipei engine was completed, and for the first time, Honda was able to produce a motorcycle with its own engine. The name Honda was stamped on the machine, marking the beginning of a new era in the company's history. In 1948, Soichiro founded the Honda Motor Company, with the goal of manufacturing motorcycles to help Japanese workers get around. However, to expand his production, he needed more money. To solve this problem, Soichiro had an unusual idea. He wrote an open letter to all 18,000 owners of bicycle shops in Japan, presenting a solution to boost the country's economy. About 3,000 owners responded positively, providing the necessary funds to start large-scale production. In 1949, Honda produced its first complete motorcycle, the Model D. Although it was a milestone for the company, the Model D was large and heavy, which limited its popularity. Soichiro was not satisfied with this and worked tirelessly to create a smaller and lighter motorcycle. After 3 years of trial and error, he finally managed to produce the Super Cub, which became a huge success and received the Emperor's Award. The partnership with Takeo Fujisawa, who provided capital and financial and marketing strategies, helped consolidate the success of Honda Motor Company. In 1958, Honda launched the Super Cub in the United States at a price of just $295, a quarter of the price of other American motorcycles. Thanks to the company's marketing and engineering skills, Honda quickly surpassed its competitors, including Triumph and Harley-Davidson, in their respective local markets. At the same time, Soichiro also expanded the Honda brand into the world of racing. He traveled the world to study racing and examine his competitors' motorcycles, becoming an influential figure in the racing world. For manufacturers, racing was more than just a sport. It was the biggest platform to showcase their cars and motorcycles to the rest of the world. In 1964, the Honda Motor Company announced its entry into the automobile market, despite warnings from many that it was a risky move and that the company should focus solely on motorcycles. At the time, Honda produced only motorcycles, while other Japanese companies, such as Nissan and Toyota, competed in the automotive market. Japanese officials tried to convince founder Soichiro Honda that the country did not need another car manufacturer, but he didn't listen. During his childhood, Soichiro Honda had a big dream of entering the automotive industry. Despite the warnings, he persisted and was determined to make a name for Honda in the world of cars. The company's focus on innovation and excellence in engineering paid off, and the Honda Civic, launched in 1972, was a huge success. The company continued to innovate and produce successful cars, such as the Honda Accord and the Acura luxury brand. Today, Honda is one of the largest and most respected automakers in the world, with a strong focus on environmentally friendly technologies and a commitment to quality and innovation. From its humble beginnings as a motorcycle manufacturer to its current position as a leading automaker, Honda's success can be attributed to the vision and determination of its founder, Soichiro Honda. In 1963, Honda released its first automobile, the T360 Mini Pickup, a small and reliable truck. Unfortunately, the T360 didn't get much attention and was followed by the company's first sports car, the S500. A two-door roadster with a 4-speed transmission capable of reaching 80 miles per hour. Despite being a smaller car, the S500 was smooth and easy to drive. Only about 1,300 cars were built, making it one of the rarest Honda cars ever made. Just like with motorcycles, Honda took its cars to the world of racing. In 1964, the Honda RA271 debuted in Formula One at the Belgian Grand Prix. Just 1 year later, Honda achieved its first victory in Formula One at the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix with its new successor, the RA272. Despite initial success on the racetrack, Honda was still behind its competitors in the automotive market. As a result, the company decided to take a break from racing and focus its efforts on building one of the most successful cars in the automotive market, the Honda Civic. Launched in 1972, the Civic became one of the most popular cars in the world in the following years. One of the reasons for its success, especially in Europe and the United States, was its low fuel consumption and high efficiency in response to the 1970s oil crisis. While Honda motorcycles were being produced, Japan already had Nissan, Toyota, and other companies competing in the challenging automotive market. Japanese officials tried to convince Soichiro that the country did not need another car manufacturer, but he was not convinced by their arguments. In 1963, Honda launched its first car, the T360 mini truck, a reliable small cargo truck. Unfortunately, the mini truck never gained much traction and was soon followed by the company's first sports car, the S500. The S500 was a two-door roadster with a 4-speed transmission capable of reaching 80 miles per hour. Although it was a smaller car, it was smooth and easy to drive. Unfortunately, only about 1,300 cars of this model were built, making it one of the rarest Honda cars ever produced. Just as Soichiro did with motorcycles, Honda also took its cars to the world of racing. The Honda RA271 debuted in Formula One at the 1964 Belgian Grand Prix. In just 1 year, Honda achieved its first victory in Formula One at the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix with its new successor, the RA272. However, despite its early success on the tracks, Honda was still far behind its competitors in the automotive market, which led the company to take a break from racing and focus on the production of the Civic. During this period, fuel shortages spread around the world, and society developed new methods of fuel management, including compound vortex controlled combustion, CVCC technology. This technology allowed people to travel longer distances with their cars without burning too much fuel. The Honda Civic also addressed the problem of pollution caused by exhaust gases by adding a catalytic converter to its vehicles, something that other major automakers did not consider much at the time. And so, Honda quickly became popular in the automotive market. While Americans may have purchased the Civic out of necessity, it was the Honda Accord that really changed the game. Initially, the Honda Accord debuted as a compact hatchback, but later expanded to sedans. This new model had the same fuel efficiency as the Civic, but with improved moderate size, and thanks to its ample interior space and comfort, the Honda Accord became one of the best-selling sedans in automotive history. Honda also expanded into several industries, including jets, boat motors, power equipment, and robots, to name a few. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you next time.